And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure of the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and I'll say in full transparency, apologies for starting late tonight. We were backstage chatting and completely lost track of time. So I will take responsibility for that little snafu. But with that being said, we were having great conversation, and you all are in for a huge treat with our guest tonight. And so, without further ado, I am going to hand it over to my incredible guest to introduce herself to you all and share a little bit about herself. So, I give you the one, the only meditation experiencer extraordinaire, Mary Amy.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, and I will take some of the responsibility because I was asking you some questions and I was trying to get to know you a little bit. And you're very easy to talk to. You're a conversationalist, and I can see why you're a host. And I'm very grateful for you having me this evening. I'm Mary Amy. I'm coming live from New York. I'm an intuitive wisdom coach, a Reiki master, an ordained minister. I'm an author, and I am a near-death experiencer. And I would say an ET contactee. And I speak of angels and light and supernatural events and paranormal encounters. And I have an open heart and an open mind.
Wow, I've been told I wear many hats, but I think you actually have more hats than I have.
I don't know. You seems like you have quite a few yourself, paranormal investigator. But thank you for saying that. I'm also an artist.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of curious, with having these experiences and these communications with these beings and angels, do you feel like that transfers into your art and is like guiding your art, or do you feel like the art is guiding the communication?
I believe that it does help me engage with another part of my imagination because I've had experiences and I can see things in a much more empathic way and compassionate. It does it does aid in my art. I have moments of working on my art and times that I'm doing other projects that are creative. Right now I'm writing my fourth book, and there is going to be some of my art which I can show you because I started doing sketches for it. So it's both. I mean, I love art. Art is I grew up painting at 3. My mom's an artist, so she gave me a watercolor set and paper, and I used to do it by my nightlight when I was 3 years old. I just loved art.
Wow, that's incredible to be sitting there watercoloring at 3 years old. I'm thinking at 3, I'm not even sure I could keep everything within a line.
Well, I think it's what what your talent is, and I had a natural affinity for art because I was around it. My mother always had an art studio, so I saw it, and yeah, I mean, you probably have your own talents that you were doing at 3, and that transcends to the rest of your life and your passion. So that's mine. That is mine. It's art.
I'm like, oh, I'm watching you and your hand saying, "This is mine," and I'm like, "Yes, I'm not trying to take it from you. I promise."
I know. But you know what it is that some things, because of I had trauma in my life, and there were situations that I couldn't really be expressive. So I guess I don't mean to be like it's mine and I don't want anyone to take it away, but it's more or less something that I actually finally own, where I say, okay, this is something that I know that I love and I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah, I was teasing about the taking it. I was totally seeing it as you are, empowering and saying, "Yeah, this is who I am," and standing in the power of your skill. And so, kudos for that. And in your bio, I find it most interesting because I had a paranormal experience at 2. You had a near death experience at 2. And so, one, I'm really curious, did you remember it when you were 2, or did your memory of the experience come later? And what did that impact have on your life?
It actually created my personality because you're supposed to be protected by your mother until you're 3, and your personality is forming. So it was formed around this event. And to answer your question, I had fragments of me leave because it was traumatic. And later I went to a shaman much later who helped me bring back pieces of my soul. My soul had left. So I had some memories of it, and some I blocked out. And it's interesting because people that was around when I was in high school, I spoke too much later, and I didn't think that I had that much recall, but this one person said, "Oh no, you were talking about it." So I guess some stuff ekes out of you whether you realize it or not. You're talking about something if it's on your mind or if it's evident. And it probably depends on the situation, Michael, because you know how something triggers you to talk about something, whether it anything, like, oh, that reminds me about my aunt, whoever, or, oh, I went down that road. So it probably depended on if anything triggered it. And it made it it affected me with my speech, my development, and I was a victim. So it took a lot of work to kind of overcome it and to gain some confidence about myself.
Which I was gonna my next question to you was gonna be is growing up, having, the near death experience so young, how, what was life like growing up? Because I know it changes perspective, it changes the thought waves, sort of, or it did for me. So I'm kind of imagining it would for everyone. And so growing up is very different with that. And so I'm curious, how you navigated growing up with all these experiences, and when did you figure out you could telepathically communicate?
Okay, I was much better communicating through my thoughts than my words. I um, wait, let me think. I had a difficult time growing up because I probably didn't know anything else, so it was hard for me because I never spoke about it. People didn't know about that it happened to me until much later. And I was in my 20s before my family didn't know. And it was a secret. So I guess I had more fear than some people. That might have been where I came from, but I also had a thicker skin. So I was someone who took many chances. I didn't find any concern about not being able to do something. I just tried it and did it. I always thought I could do anything. And I was pretty athletic. I was a tomboy. So I physically felt like, okay, I can do this. And because I overcame so much. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. And I'm kind of noticing like similarities between our paths and different scenarios bringing about things, but it's kind of interesting. And one of the things that I will share that I have actually never shared publicly is, as you're talking about, being able to telepathically communicate better. When I was a wee little lad, I would sit there and I would just like kind of look at my sisters or, but I would never speak anything and they would go and get everything that I needed. And my parents were like starting to get concerned if I had vocabulary or the ability to speak because they were doing everything for me without me saying what I needed or what I wanted. And so they, had to scold my sisters and tell them to stop doing that. And I've often wondered, like, because we don't use it after that, does it stay or does it disappear or what happens with it? But I just, finding it interesting that we both had experiences at two and we both had telepathic upbringing.
Well, I thought when we were speaking before, I was I was tuning into you a little bit, but I didn't want to go into that too far because we were having a conversation. I didn't want to just be distracted. But I was sensing certain things about you, which was intuitive. And that would make sense because when you have something like a near death experience, for some reason it triggers a lot more capability in your senses, your psychic abilities. And I felt or knew things about people before they told me. Fortunately, when you can hear what other people are thinking or you can sense it, and if it's something, a negative emotion, then it hurts you, so then you're trying harder for them to like you. And that's kind of what I did for a long time, was try to get people to like me because I wanted to be liked. And I don't know if you had anything similar to that, whereas because you were able to like kind of be unknowingly mind to mind sending information, if you also heard things, which I heard things, which is not always pleasant to hear what other people are saying.
I'm not sure that I did ever, or if I did, I probably wrote it off as somebody somewhere said something and I didn't realize it was a telepathic communication. I probably, like most kids, probably was like, "Oh, somebody whispered something over there." Couldn't make out what they said, so just let it go and move on. But I wonder, maybe I kind of did in a way, just not verbally, because I had experiences like a couple of times. A student would be like complaining of a headache or something, and I would go up and I would put my hands on their temples. And then when I took it away, they were like, "Well, my headache's gone." I was like, "Cool." And I was like, "I don't know what I did." I didn't know Reiki at that point,
Mm.
being like elementary school. And so, maybe that was a uh, telepathic communication that I picked up of, yeah, there's a headache, let's go fix it, versus, oh, hearing someone say, "Man, I have a headache."
You're a natural healer.
I am, and I have the two M's on my palms, which kind of, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of not surprised to see M's on my palms, but that was one thing that I'm wondering, as you were growing up and learning these different modalities and stuff, did you take any and you were like, yeah, I'm going to take this because this is so cool and everything. And then you're like, yeah, no, I'm not getting this. And so, yeah, we're not continuing this. Let's go focus on other things that I am able to get. Cause like that was palm reading for me. I took one class and I was like, I just can't for the life of me. I'm like, yeah, there's a line on a hand. What it means, I don't know. What's it called? I don't know. It didn't like register, didn't stick, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm not a palm reader. Sorry.
Well, I was drawn to certain modalities and they resonated with me, and that's what I pursued. I already was empathic, and unfortunately I got in over my head because I started doing psychic readings and I really didn't understand energy enough. And when I was open all the time, I just remain open. Some people shut everything down. I just remain open. And I would get negative or dark energies that would try to take me over or attach itself to me. And like I'm very much an absorbing type of person emotionally. So I had to take a break and stop doing that for a while. So, and then I've pursued a different area and then was writing and doing hosting. And then I went back to it and I understood it more. And I think it was overwhelming at times. I took tarot cards, and in between everything else, I said, let me try this. Because it just seemed like when you went to some of these expos or people would say, do you have tarot cards? Because they like to see something and it's a prop. And I took a class. I went and did this workshop for a few days with this woman. And what I found was it was interesting, and it was, something that you could see, but it kind of got in the way of what I was doing. So I didn't really need it because I was already saying the things that were on the cards, more or less. Like I'm somebody, so how I read, I started out reading through the heart. So somehow I would connect to the person's heart and then I would read their aura, their energy field. And I would pull out moments and not look at them. It's better if I'm not looking at them, which I eventually figured out. And then I realized, okay, let me focus on my clairaudience. And I was already clairvoyant. So I combine the three and I hear a voice. So I go by the person's sound and probably their frequency. And I receive information, mental pictures, voices, entities, and everyone's different. And then I allow people to ask a question. So it's been a learning curve, and it's fun. Sometimes it gets scary because you're like, okay, what's this? I don't know how to do this. For example, the telepathic abilities came on more powerful after I started getting contact from other entities. So I'll give you a little rundown if you want to hear. Do you want to hear a rundown?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Because I know you have to ask a question, but let me just finish and then you ask me another question. So when I was a baby, too, we'll say I was a baby because I think that's a baby. I was dying, so I was transcending. I was being transported into the angelic realm, the afterlife, and I was greeted by angels. So I felt their peace, their harmony, their serenity, and I guess it wasn't time for me to pass. And then when they were so calming, I stopped screaming, and then I didn't die. And that was probably what opened everything up for me, although I probably was already empathic, but this just, and then I was more or less intuitive until I started pursuing it in 2013. And then I was around some healers and mediums, and then I was being greeted by a lot of spirit, which made me uncomfortable. And now I figured that out. And then it went on to more angels, spirits, demons, witches, which sometimes you wonder, is that really what you're seeing, or is it what they're putting there for you to be scared from? So that's a little bit of a wonder about that. Is that really a demon? Is that really a witch? Sometimes it definitely was. Other times I wonder, like you might have a dream where you say, oh, this beautiful celebrity or being is trying to seduce you, and that's really a demon trying to seduce you to try to pull out something from you, your energy, your consciousness. So I went through that, and then in 2021 I started getting extraterrestrials. So that was a whole other energy, vibration, frequency, and I started figuring that out. And then the telepathy got more so in the last 6 months, where I can they pop down and then they tell me things, different beings.
No, that totally makes sense to me, and I get it. And
Oh, good.
I'm like, and you're describing it really well, actually. And so I just want to acknowledge that. But I'm kind of, you know, thinking about all that's been going on, and I'm kind of a little bit curious to know when you saying you being psychic, but you're also reading minds. How do you differentiate? Are you getting spirit or are you getting the person's mental thoughts when you're connecting and reading someone?
Well, each one of these is a different energy. So let me be clear. I don't read someone's mind or try to take something without permission. If it happens that a spirit comes to me or some kind of being because they're giving me information, and that's telepathic, that's one thing. How do I differentiate between reading someone psychically and what they're saying, their spirit? It's two different things, and I will say it. So if I went in and started talking to, like right now, and okay, let me ask permission.
Oh yeah, you have permission. Sorry, I
Oh,
thought you were going through the
hi, Michael. Is
saying
it okay? My name is Mary. What's your name?
Michael.
Hi, Michael. Is it okay if I connect to you?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going in, and again, I'm seeing it. So it's interesting. You're telling me a story with your hands. You're very excited. It's actually related to a trip or something that you want to tell me about a location. So is it someplace that you're going to, or you suggest for me? You're telling me something about going someplace that I want to say you've already been to, and you're suggesting it to me. You're very excited. You're motioning your hands. And let's see what I received. Okay, so let's see. Can I do a little read on you quick?
Yes. What was that?
I have these lights. Boy, what just happened? Did spirit say yes for you?
I think it did.
Okay, a light bulb fell off. Okay, so okay. All right, so this is what I'm receiving about you. I'm receiving that you are very enthusiastic about your journey, and you have so many plans and so many directions to go into. But you have a destination. So you're kind of doing this loop to gain more insight about what you want ultimately, which you do want quite a bit. You're definitely a traveler. You will do it alone or with someone. You're fine by yourself. Like I can see you with a back, like even just like by foot, backpack. Any form of travel. You are a very, very friendly person that can have a conversation with anyone. Something about color, and I received that before when we were talking, very vibrant, like it inspires you to be around color. And I would suggest for you to watch light codes and sacred geometry movement, unless you already are. I see you picking fruit from a tree, like a fruit tree, and you're excited about it, which tells me I'm going to read that as being someone that appreciates the elements of nature. Now, I also saw you on foot. I also saw you talking about travel. So you're very much an explorer on the globe, and it's unlimited for you. And I'm seeing signs. So, or I'm hearing something like Europe. Let me ask you another question. So you're actually asking me if I'm receiving any spirit around you, or if there's anything that you want, if I wanted, so I got a female, a woman, and let's see, a woman. And so she has, this woman came through, she has big curls, brown hair. She's pleasant. She's positive. She's a supporter of yours. She's a relative. Okay. I don't know if I should keep going, or you ask me more questions.
Well, I gotta think about that one. I'm like, do I have a relative that has brown curly hair?
It's like big curls. Big curls. There is fangs here and some big brown curls. Like not dark brown. I would say light brown. And she's a supporter of yours. And let me see. Like it's not she's not old enough. She doesn't seem, although it could be her as a younger version. I was going to say not a grandma type. Let me see if I get more information about her, and I'll let you speak. So I won't push it. I'm not pushing.
Okay, and what I find interesting is, like you picking up on like traveling, and with my parents when they were here, we would travel a lot of places, and so I have been to Africa, Europe, the Mediterranean, Central America, so I have, traveled in, a lot of places, and Africa and southern France were on my own, and that was quite an experience because it's like that was the first time traveling my own, and so now I've kind of, yeah, like, I'm comfortable to go and travel on my own, or get on the car, have a road trip with friends, and go somewhere. But I've always had that, though, is, if somebody was to say to me, we're going to go, on this road trip, I'm like, cool. And I'm not an early riser, but if they said, oh, we're going on this road trip, but it's going to mean you're going to have to get up early, I'm like, I'll be up, don't you worry. And so it's like something switches in me. And so when it comes to, when I get the opportunity to travel, it's like something, like it's excited, and it's like, oh, is it time to go yet? Is it time to go yet? And I have actually been known to And I never told my parents this, but when we would go to visit family and I would drive part of the way with them, I would fall asleep at like 2, 3 in the morning and wake up at 4 to get ready to leave the house at 5 with them to start the journey. And I would be wide awake, first driver. It's like, because I couldn't go to sleep. It's like I would just be like too afraid, I think, to oversleep, and then I was gonna, like hold everything up, and it's like don't want to be that person. So we're just not gonna sleep. We'll sleep later. But yeah, I have that natural excitement to go adventuring and see places that I've only seen through energy and the physicality.
This is your passion. Mine's art, yours is travel.
I could agree with that. And I do have a little bit of art skill, but it's nowhere near like a lot of people's. And in one of my books, I put a drawing in, and on the bottom, I was like, "Yeah, this is my drawing." And I sent it to my illustrator, and I was like, here's what it looks like, and feel free to take and do it really nicely and draw it really nicely." And she goes, "Why, what's wrong with your drawing?" I was like, "Really?"
There
Because in
you
my
go.
mind I'm like, "Yeah, this is bad, please take it over and draw it, make it look really nice." And she's like, "No, you did really well." I'm like, "I don't think so." And I mean, and that's kind of been my life, is I always underestimate myself because of what others will say, and by what they say, I'm talking their actions. Like, for example, in my 20s, I think I was in my 20s, maybe my early 30s, I was at a church that was non-denominational, and I was helping, with the kids, because I was like, yeah, I'm not into the whole sermon and all that. I'd rather do this. And well, they had a choir. And I'm like, I'm not a, professional singer, but I'm like, I can harmonize. Well, we do a Christmas show and they insist on giving me a solo. And I'm like, don't give me a solo. No, you're going to get a solo. Don't give me a solo. At the end of the performance, I kid you not, this is how it goes. The choir director and the children's director came up to me and they go, yeah, we're gonna ask that you kind of step aside from the choir. And I'm like, I literally got kicked out of church choir.
Oh, no.
And so when people go, "Oh, let's go karaoke, let's go sing," I'm like, "Yeah, you have no idea what you're asking." I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I got kicked out of church choir. I do not have a voice to sing with. Do not give me a microphone and ask me to sing.
I got kicked out too. So I was in elementary school, and I don't think I've ever told this story. And we had chorus, and now I remember the woman's name was Mrs. West, and she had short hair, kind of looked like Julie Andrews type. You know, when Julie
Oh,
Andrews
no
had
pressure there.
pardon me?
I said no pressure there.
Yeah. So she looked like, remember Sound of Music? Her hair was kind of similar to that, short. It was a golden color, similar. Her name was Mrs. West. And they had this Philadelphia trip every year. And fourth and fifth graders would go on a bus to Philadelphia and sing for a performance. And I remember, now I had a voice problem, and I can't sing, zero chance. I'd be the one kicked out. So I remember she auditioned everyone, and I remember going in and no one got canceled for that. I did. They were like, no. You're not going and singing. So same for me. Like I was the only one out of the whole class who didn't go to Philadelphia, and I couldn't sing. So I get it. Don't ask
And
karaoke either. I can't sing. Like I can't sing. Even Happy Birthday. Everyone knows this about me. Mary does not sing ever. You don't want to hear me sing.
yeah, I have been known to for a couple of dear friends. I will call and do an attempt at singing happy birthday, but it's like, yeah, it's more of me like just kind of funnily talking happy birthday song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, see, this is why I don't sing, people. And yeah, and it's kind of, to me at first when I was like hearing, hearing that and, experiencing that, I kind of was like, that's, how can this be, how, why would this, happen and everything. And then I remember seeing John Travolta's Archangel Michael in the movie Michael. And there's a scene in there where he's doing something and the main character, I forget his name, but he walks up to him and he goes,
Michael. Isn't the main character Michael?
no, the other one,
Oh, okay.
the one that's like with him all the time.
Right. I'm trying to remember which actor that is. Okay.
And
Now I know.
he goes and he says something to him like, if you're, Michael, shouldn't you, you're an archangel. Shouldn't this be, you doing this or this? And he goes, I'm not that kind of angel. And it's like, and it's stuck in my head. It's, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I don't have to have the singing voice. I'm not that type of spirit.
Oh,
So, okay.
right.
And it's like, it brought a little comfort. And I was like, I used that line to justify going, okay, so I can't do this. I'm not that type. Oh, I
Hmm.
can't do that. I'm not that type. Okay, I'm okay with that. And it kind of helped me, you know, boost myself back up and be like, I don't have to be perfect at that. I don't even have to do that.
That's interesting that that's the movie you chose to take a quote from, and that's a positive movie because it's about angels and
Right.
challenges and overcoming and being someone who is showing kindness and love, and the main character and becomes a better person by the end of the film.
Yeah. The other one that you'll probably will say will fit me much better was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And it was Azim when he was talking to Robin, and Robin's talking and saying, I had all these perfect intentions. I had all these perfect everything. And Azim looks at him and goes, there are no perfect men, only, perfect intentions. And it was like, ah, yeah. See, now I don't have to worry if I fall short on something because it doesn't make me less perfect. It just means I did my best and fell short. So pick yourself up and, still finish it. But, you don't have to pressure yourself and you don't have to do this or that. And I was like, yeah. And I even created one of those vision boards and I made a little quote of that and like stuck it at the center and was like, yes, I'm going to make this my mantra that I don't have to be perfect.
I like it. I was a big vision board assembler when I started doing this site, like as a somewhat of a profession, and I would do the vision boards, and I found value in it about creating because I'm visual, and then I started doing visualizations, and it expanded my ability to see beyond this moment and see somewhere else, slow down time, be in the moment, and travel. and learn ways to bring light to situations, and ideas would just come to me. So I would surrender. You know, sometimes the perfect, you use the word perfect, there is no perfect. And I can't do perfect. I don't even know what that is, because I feel like for a while I was doing patchwork with my life, just trying to keep it together with, you know, glue and tape, because I couldn't figure things out. Why did things happen to me? Why me? I don't know what to do with this. There's no one to talk to about it. And it was it was difficult because it's hard to relate to other people, so you're alone. And until you find someone that understands you, you definitely don't feel perfect. And in this world, this physical reality that we live in, this three-dimensional density world, it's so much about if people like you, if they, you know, if you are part of something. And when you're on the outside of it looking in, it's a lonely place. And for me, I had to become comfortable in that lonely place. So I'm very comfortable isolated, alone. And then I learned to be comfortable being more social and trying to understand other people. But I have to do it in doses, because sometimes it's frustrating if people don't get me.
No, I get that, and I understand that, and I'm curious what you would think if I told you perfection is totally achievable, that there is a perfect.
But I mean, that's perspective, isn't it? What you consider to be perfection.
So, this is how I figured out the perfect and perfection was I was looking one day at a table and a countertop, and I was noticing, we say they're perfectly smooth, and they're perfectly, everything about them is perfect, so we can eat on them or cook on them and everything, right?
Mm.
You take it to a microscope and there's a bunch of jagged edges under the surface. And so to me, I was like, wait a minute. If this is perfectly smooth, how is this jagged? And then I said, well, something then goes, well, let's look at this in life. If we say, this is perfect, well, but it's flawed. We are flawed as a human. It's who we are.
Mm.
But then I go, but wait a minute. The tabletop and the countertop, we see beyond the flaw to see it's perfect. What if? And then I was like, all suddenly, it's like my mind went blank, and it's like I kind of froze for a second. I was like, oh, if I can see beyond the flaws of the person to who they truly are, I'm seeing the perfect version of them. And by doing that for myself, I'm seeing my perfect self. I just cracked the code to perfection.
That's beautiful what you just said. To look at it that way.
Yeah, because when we look at it, if you break it down, when we look at people, who we interact with, we are constantly looking at how are they responding to this? How are they, reacting to that? Do I like this about them? Do I like this, or do they like this about me? And we start nitpicking everything. But if we go beyond that, it's like there's nothing. It's just they are. And so I'm like, oh, that's the perfection is you see them just as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a girlfriend at the time and she said to me, yeah, but you're not seeing me. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm looking beyond your flaws. And I know as a boyfriend, I shouldn't say you're flawed, but we all are. I'm sorry. It's a fact. But I'm accepting your flaws by looking beyond them and seeing you as who you are. And she kind of paused for a second, was like, oh, wow. Okay, I didn't think about it that way. And I was like, I hadn't fully thought of it that way either, but it was like really cool to hear it like verbally said and be like, oh, somebody actually accepts this idea. Maybe I am onto something. It got a little validation without seeking validation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I validate what you just said. It's interesting though because you can say that about someone else, but they might not be ready to receive it, and they might be blocking hearing that because there's something about them that they are carrying around that is shameful or they don't want to show. Like when a child is little, some kids grow up hearing, well, that's good and that's bad. So then they compartmentalize themselves and they suppress the bad, and later on they channel into something else like an obsession or an addiction, or they get excited about hiding this.
No, I totally agree. And as forthcoming as I would like to say I am, I was kind of talking about this earlier with someone, and I was talking with some friends about it as well. We live in a society where, okay, let's hypothetically take you and I, metaphysical. Okay, if we go into a room where there's metaphysical people, we may go over there because we know it'll be safe to talk over there because they're like-minded, so to speak. So we may take the safe route and go over there. Over on the other side of the room may be like the mainstream thinking people, and it's like, oh, if I go over there, they're gonna they're gonna want to lock me up, they're gonna call me insane, or be like, are you nuts? They're gonna be so judgmental. So we avoid those. And then there's the ones in the middle where like we don't know. And so it's like, do we dare? Do we not dare? And unfortunately, that's the world we grew up in because, and I'm going to say this out of the blanket statement of, I don't know your age, you don't know my age, but when we grew up, you didn't have the communication like we have today. So if we were to say, hey, I see angels, you could pretty much guarantee, yeah, you may be going to get a visit to the hospital and a psychiatrist because
No,
they're
no,
paid.
no, you're not correct.
Oh, you didn't have that?
No, I've
Oh,
never had. I've
I,
never.
I learned growing up. I could not talk about certain things around certain people because
Well,
it
I
was
didn't talk
not.
about it. I didn't know. I never had that. I never had that. What you just said. I've never had where people are like, really? Tell me what do you see? That's what I get. What do you see? Tell me. I don't get
No,
any visits to the hospital.
yeah, I got
No
the.
visits to the hospital for me,
Uh,
Michael.
yeah, and one example of it was how different that was is 9/11 when it first happened. I was at a friend's house for New Year's right after it happened, and they were like, and a couple of my friends pulled me aside and they were like, just we were just talking on their sofa, and she's like, so when's your enlistment date? And I said, I'm not enlisting. And they go, well, you talk about always wanting to protect, and you know, our country just got attacked. And I was like, I don't know who attacked us. So I'm not enlisting because I don't know all the facts of what went on. You know what their response was? You need to go get an MRI because I didn't believe the narrative and
Really?
was questioning the narrative. They were like, you need an MRI. And so that's the type that was my growing up is, oh, I spoke too much into one aspect and went too far. So yeah, I rocked the boat too much. Gotta hold it back. Gotta pull back. And so yeah, I didn't have a lot of free sharing. It was compartmentalized who I could share with. And it was always I could be more open with our family friends who were more my parents' age than my age. And so now it's like, it's really hard when people are like coming up to me and they're like, oh, so you can do this, this, and this. And it's like, yeah, it's like I still had a little hesitation because I'm like, where's this going? What are you wanting? Where are you going with it? Because it's like I still have a little bit of that protective shell of, yeah, we are in a more open environment now, but still not quite there. So I still got to keep myself a little bit safe. And so don't openly share everything. And so that was my upbringing.
I did not share any of this, what I saw or felt or knew for years. I was in my own little daydream. It wasn't until in the last probably 11 years that I started being more forthright with what I believe. And I did get some side comments that I heard, but not directly. People did not directly shoot me down. And at first, I can say that made me sad and uncomfortable. But um, it was like I don't have time for this. I can't worry what other people think. So I pretty much gave up on pleasing everyone. So I did too compartmentalize. I didn't realize I was doing it, and I believe that the world is cracking open, and more of what we know will be mainstream and considered possible because more people are talking about it, and everything with technology is happening so quickly. That's part of it. People are saying, wait, what's going on here? Because there's a lot of change coming fast. So it's lifting up the ground, and people are noticing. They're noticing something's different. So then when they're noticing something's different, then they'll say, wait, maybe that is a real thing. I'm going to reconsider that. And I mean, there probably will be some people that don't want to try to figure it out because they're very comfortable where they are, and they're scared of change. It is, but eventually everyone's going to have to move with the direction that the world is going, because otherwise they're left behind.
That's true. And I'm kind of interested in an aspect that I don't know if you have ever dealt with being an artist. And I'm coming at this because we have like AI music now where it's completely generated by AI. And a gentleman was sharing with us an AI song that his daughter had wrote and sang, and he played both versions, and then sit and looked at us and goes, okay, which one's the AI? Which one's my daughter? And I was able to pick up which was his daughter because I could hear the emotional um the emotional tones in the music where the AI can't master emotional yet. So it's all like just word. It's like there's no feeling behind it. And what I'm wondering with you, with your work, being an artist and a painter, when you see, pictures where AI generates the painting, do you look at it and go, oh, I totally get what's going on here? Or are you like, this is a nice image, but there's nothing to it? There's nothing behind it. It's just an image.
I I am not pursuing the artificial. I'm more organic, so I don't even look at any of that. It's not even in my view. It's like over here somewhere, over there. I'm not pursuing that because I don't think that that's productive. I don't want help from an AI. I don't want to have anything to do with that because then that seeps in. I'm all about organic and the elements of nature and the stars in the sky and the earth below my feet. And I don't look at that. So I don't really have a commentary about that. Like, I don't want to be someone who's saying I'm anti. If someone wants to be into that, that's fine. I'm just not. So I don't know if that helps you understand me.
Oh no, it totally does actually, and I actually, appreciate that. And I'm not putting down AI myself, and those that want to use it, I choose not to use it as much as possible myself with writing and stuff. But I was just curious your perception if, because like you say, your art and your paintings comes from, inside and insight, if how that would translate if you don't have that experience. Could it be
You get
manufactured?
very
I don't.
box.
Hmm?
Yeah, I don't want to bring it. I think all of that is very boring. That is boring because, like you said, the element, the human element, and also the difference is that digital and analog. So when we had analog it's like the difference between film when they made movies with film or television with film rather than digital. It takes away part of the human factor, the sound, the color, the voice, the crispness, the realness. So I'm not a fan. It's not my thing. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll be a last, a last person on earth that is not into that. I do sense that advancements will come and that might kind of go away because it's everyone's in way over their head.
No, I can agree with that. And I'm kind of curious now, talking about your painting with all your clairs, that you put into the painting aspect. Have you ever, when you're communicating with like another being, do you ever paint them and be like, that's who I was talking to? Or do you just appreciate you're talking to a being and I'm like, I don't need to paint you to know that you are who you are?
Well, I am actually, it's interesting you're saying that. So this book that I'm working on right now, which I'm in the last few pages, it's taken me 2.5 years of the writing. I started doing the illustrations for it. And I had hundreds of these experiences. For example, I'll show you. I did a couple of quick little art for it, which I don't know whether I'm going to use it, but I'm going to show you. Like, for example, I can tell you, would you like to hear a couple of my experiences, and then I'll show you a few pictures?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or as the French would say, absolument.
Okay. So for example, I'm going to tell you, I categorized what happened to me, and I wrote it all down because I had originally done a dream journal. I don't know if I have it around here. I think you had it on the display of the show, of the format for the show. So I started writing down my dreams 2014. So by 2021, I started getting experiences with extraterrestrials, and I would get what I call a download, which would come more or less, it felt like I was being given this information to prepare me to be more comfortable with extraterrestrials, because it can be a little strange. I mean, like I said, when I first had experiences with spirit, they'd come up right into my face and it was frightening. And then I had to adjust to it and realize that they're just trying to communicate with me. And so actually it's pleasant for me because I'm like, who's going to show up tonight? And when the extraterrestrials started coming, I was used to spirit and then some other negative energies. So with the extraterrestrials, I started getting these downloads. So it would come in, Michael, as let's say, for example, I would be awake. I would go to lay down to go to sleep, or I'd be woken up in the middle of the night, or it would be right when I would wake up. So I would be awake when it would happen, and my eyes would be closed, or I'd sense something and I'd close my eyes, and then I would see maybe some kind of dark cloud and then a ship passing through, and it would come across my eye line. So it'd be like left to right, left to right. And it might be multiple different little spaceships. And those I called downloads. And then I would have what I called contact, which would be an actual extraterrestrial that would come through. So what happened to me, this is my experiences, is it would be like you're on a video chat. So they would come through. Hi, whoever's saying that. Hi. Thanks for joining us. Like the video and subscribe. It would be like, usually for the most part, until the last year, it would be like waist up. They would come. Sometimes it would be full length. And I would see them like we are right now, talking. So it would be like this close. So it would be like you, except you're an extraterrestrial. And I would call that contact. So for example, I had a few of these different species, which we've given names. Whether or not that's what they really are, I think they are. Could be wrong. So I've had, so here's an example. So I did this. All right. So like this was a couple of different experiences I had. Like this was September 3rd, 2024. I saw this gray alien, and I realized now I didn't color this in. So this gray alien, there was a tree, and he was going like this. Hi, like hi, hi, like strange, right? But there would be all kinds. Now, would I call that a contact? Probably, because it was clear. It was pretty clear, but it's interesting. You think they all are clones of each other, but they have their own distinct facial, like some of their eyes might be bigger than another guy's, and there's also different species of grays. This was an experience I had where in between every dream or every vision I had was this red geometric shape, which was very strange. It was like planted in between to show me. Sometimes it came through as a remote view, And this happened to me maybe 2 or 3 times, where I had these geometric shapes that broke it up. I'd have a remote view of a location. Now, wasn't asking for it. It just happened. So I'm taken somewhere to be shown something. And then this, when you said, wait, what did you asked me a question about extraterrestrials. So like, these are very primitive. Like, I have to go back to the experience and really do. This was a quick sketch one morning. Like, this is an Arcturian. I had this one Arcturian who's my friend now. He came once a year for 3 years, and then finally I understood what he was saying to me, and then I wrote it all down, and I'm having it in my book. I had one gray that came 5 times, but for the most part, it's a different guy each time. And yeah, so each of them, Michael, has a different energy. Like, the extraterrestrials have a different energy. So, like, for example, I have had more recently, instead of extraterrestrials showing up, I've had views of spacecrafts coming. So I believe they're coming, and I've been told they're coming. So they're literally physically going to be shown to us. So people can't be like, that's not real. That's not real. It's not real. Because it's real.
Actually, I have a funny story for you about that. And my parents relayed the story to me from their teacher, because somebody asked this spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how are we going to get the whole world to see this and acknowledge this? And I summarized the story as to go like this. So you have a room that's in this building, and there's 15 people in the building. 5 people are dead set aliens, UFOs, all of that. Hogwash doesn't exist. They go outside, nothing's there. They go home. 5 people are skeptic. So they go outside and they're like, there's something fuzzy, something just out of focus. I can't quite make it out, but let's say like 3 of them will say, it's my mind playing tricks on me. So they leave. 2 are like, it's just, something, feels like there's something there. I ought to stick around because I feel like there's a reason this is going on. And then the 5 other people are like, hey, look, there's a UFO. And look, there's someone coming out to say hello and having this great experience. And the whole point of the story is your experience will be based on your filters. So if your filter is UFOs don't exist, you will never see a UFO parked in front of your house on your lawn, because your mind will make it disappear because it can't exist. You don't believe it to exist. And so that's, when I hear, people saying, oh, we need the whole world to wake up, I'm like, oh, no, we don't, because that's never going to happen, because you do have some people that are dead set, and so more power to them for being that way. And those of us who are ready will see and will experience and go on. And so that's a fun little way that they told me that helps relate to people why you can go into buildings and you can have a group of people and everyone will have different experiences seeing the same thing. It's like, yeah, because of their filters.
However, yes, I agree with you if it happens once. But if the people go to bed and then they wake up and it happens again, because when I started having these experiences, I said, okay, was that real? Like, was that real? After the first time it happened, I said, that wasn't real. And then it happened another time and another time. And then it was going on years, it was happening. People can say that if they don't see it again. But when they come, they're going to come and they're going to stay. Now they're already here. It's just they're not showing themselves to everyone because some species shapeshift, some don't want to be seen. And also, it's about being ready. And if people aren't ready, then they're not ready. And that's completely, entirely up to them. If they want to pretend it's not real. But like I say, just because you're not looking at it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So, like, yes, there's going to be filters, but then there's going to be something that's there. Like, here's this gemstone, and everyone's going to see the gemstone because it's going to go day after day after day after day. And then they're like, oh my God, it really is there. Did you see, there's a TV show, I don't want to name it, and this alien virus or ET virus hit the whole planet. And at first, the woman who's the main character was like, that's not real. And she left. But then after day after day, it's like, oh my God, this really happened. So, I mean, you know what? Like, look, honestly, what I just got is that's going to be a big thing. And then something else is going to be a big thing and something else. And then people will be more accustomed to this. And then it will be something else that's a big deal. When it does happen across the planet for more than 1 second, we're going to unify instead of being against each other. We're going to love each other because that's where it has to go. It has to go to love. Eventually, it's going to go to love.
Yeah, and I love that they call it the Star Trek universe. And one of the things that I always found interesting in the Star Trek universe, because, being in the 60s, when we were anti-Russia, anti-this, anti-that, you had on the bridge of this ship a Russian pilot, an Asian navigator, alien, science officer, a female African American communications officer. It was like they were like specifically telling you, look, if we're going to be going out in space, we cannot be going out as just one. We have to have women, we have to have men, has to be all the nations or none of the nations. It's like we are an all going forward, or you're going to get left behind. And there were groups of people that were left behind that are like, nope, we're not going into space. So what did they do? They worked for the space agency on the planet and never went into space. And they there was a funny adage with Star Trek. I don't know if you're really into Star Trek, but the doctor was, an anti-space. He was like, it's super dangerous to be in space. You could die so easily in space. And the captain's like, we operate in space, right? And he goes, well, my wife, and this comes from the movie, and the movie, I think, really spells out Bones as a character, where his persona comes from, because they never really clarified it in the show. They always were like, oh, Bones this or Bones that, and you think, oh, because he's the doctor. So in the movie, they made a funny quip of where he's talking to the captain and he goes, well, my wife got everything in the divorce but my bones. And so he's like, well, bones.
That makes
We're
sense.
going into space. And he's like, yeah. And he goes, look at how pretty that is. And look how cool that looks. And he goes, oh, don't tell me how beautiful it is. One crack in that, seal, and we're all going to be vaporized and, this or that. And he's like, and the captain turns his head and goes, oh, this is going to be fun. He's like, oh boy. But yeah, I mean, it was so interesting to see the perspectives of, everything, pushing the envelope and pushing people to see beyond borders. But at the same time, everybody had their borders, because when you would hear them say, "Yeah, I'm from Earth," well, they'd be like, "Well, what part?" "Oh, I was from this part or that part." So we hadn't gotten rid of borders, but we unified as one still.
I just spoke to that woman. So she knew you as a child. So she's in your kitchen talking to you. Because first you were talking to me about coloring, sorry. And I said, because you said to me, "Oh, why don't you show me how you do, like you want me to show you how to do some art." And then you're sitting at a table in your kitchen like you're a little boy, and the woman's in the kitchen with you, and you're sitting at the table eating. So it was she's from when you're a child. I just got that.
That could be my mom.
Could be your mom, because it's your kitchen. I'll have to see a picture of your mom. I'm not good with names. I get personalities, I get messages. The main thing I got to work on. I'm not good with names really. Like, that's not my thing. Like, I'll remember someone's face. I don't remember their name unless I see it visually. If they write down their name, so that's what I'll probably have to say. "All right, spirit, write down your name."
No, it's because you got me thinking, as a kid, I was like, because she was a lot older when she transitioned. And so I spent more years with her then than the early years, because some of that I was still too young to remember. But I remember seeing photos where she would have the big curls, because it was the 60s,
Yeah.
70s. That
Right.
was the hair style of the time. And I do think I remember seeing that she had light brown hair.
Interesting. If I saw a picture of her, because that's interesting. Maybe. I don't know. She's around. She wanted to tell me something, tell you. Huh. Hmm. Interesting. It's an adventure for me too.
Well, we did open the door, so there is that to be said for that too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just couldn't, I didn't want to lose what it was, because I just had to interrupt. Sorry.
Oh no, you were fine. I was pretty much done with it. You actually saved me from rambling on a little bit more.
Stop.
No, but I want to point out something interesting that you mentioned earlier. You tried to read me, and you were able to get a little bit of this or that. And I'm going to acknowledge the fact that I've had several people try, and they always are blocked. You
Hmm.
are the first person, I think, that has spoken with me on show and was saying, "Oh, I did a quick scan read, and this is what I was getting," and actually was permitted through the barriers, so to speak. Because one of them said, "Oh, I tried to read you to do this or this, and you had like a tornado around you, where you were like spinning dishes in inside it, to where I couldn't see through. It's like I wasn't able to penetrate." And I was like, interesting. And another guest said, "Oh, I tried to see, but there were all these colors around you, and these symbols, and symbols I had never seen before." And so when you like said, "Oh, I did this quick read of you, and this is what I'm getting," I was like, my mind was like sitting there for a second going, how did she get through? That's really interesting that she got through where others haven't been able to get through.
Fabulous. But I did see colors, remember? Because I said I
Yeah.
saw colors. So that I did initially see that. And So I don't know. I mean, maybe because I'm not a threat. I don't know, or I don't know. I don't really. Yeah, I don't know. Um,
Well,
you're very open. You're very. Um, it's so. I'm going to get a couple more things. You're heroic. You are someone who it was like I want to say a fireman type of personality about being brave. Um, like in danger, you would be more concerned about someone else than yourself. I know that. Um, and okay, so there's something else I want to tell you that I saw early on when we were talking, when you were speaking in the very beginning, even before I said I'm going to read you. And we were in the angelic discussion, the angelic realm. And I more recently intentionally for good intention, and I ask Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Ariel and Archangel Raphael, like to bring strength. And I think that's because they have so much courage and they're messengers and warriors. I saw this over you. I saw this red winged angel, and I was like, I've never seen that before. So I don't know what that was. I'll have to investigate that.
Seraphim.
Okay, is that what you think it is?
Seraphim are usually red. They're either depicted as red or covered in eyeballs.
Right. I know the eyeballs. So that's what I saw. Like I definitely saw it right here. So that would be right around you. This so I have to look into that and send you a little breakdown of what that means. But you are, I sense that you are protected, and you. And when we first were talking, it might have been our discussion before we came live. You were talking about doors and portals, and so I also see you opening many doors and closing them. Whether you've gone in through the door and you're just taking a peek and then closing it, but I see you opening and closing many doors, and those doors are portals to other dimensions, right? And that's where the color comes in. We spoke about the color, and because I've seen other realms where I've more recently been traveling, because it seems like for me I absorb. So if I come in contact with someone that has achieved something or had a certain experience, then for some reason I start to get that experience happening to me. And you have probably moved through more dimensions than you realize because of your work as a paranormal investigator.
Probably as paranormal investigator and the fact that I astral travel at night.
Okay, there you go. That's why. Okay, that's what I see too. That makes sense. So I'm astral traveling too. Interesting. Like a lot of different. It's not easy to describe, but like let's say you have. Let's say so. For me, what's happening now is it would be like if this was a shape and it's moving, and then you're seeing all the different angles possible, and there's also light going through it. That's what's happening for me. I don't know if that's happening for you, where you're seeing dimension. It almost isn't the right word. It's like all the aspects of a place, a location, an object, a thing.
No, actually, that makes total sense for me, and it really does. And so, I mean, this is part of the fun of growing up with this is it's like, yeah, I understand, how, people are describing and what they're referring to, where other people are like, how? How are you understanding? It's like there's a kind of understanding because I've grown up with it, that it's through it, that it's like, yeah, I mean, I may not understand verbatim what you're saying, but I can understand what you're trying to, say. In other words, it's like I get the vision of what you're seeing, and I struggle to describe a lot of times what I see. And so I think that's why I'm able to relate and pick it up, is because it's like, yeah, I can see what you're seeing.
Remember when we were in math class growing up, or if you were in art class and they did 3-point perspective, 5-point perspective, where all the lines went across? That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So that's what I'm seeing now. All the lines that exist that we don't see, like the imaginary lines or the way everything connects. That's what I'm trying. Does that make more sense?
It does. And yeah, and I know, yeah, I know the verbiage and everything. And I have been enjoying talking with you so much that I just realized we're at an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I know you're in New York, and so you are like an hour even ahead of me, and so it's getting late. And I don't, I want to keep talking, but I also want to respect that, I'm sure you have things to do tomorrow, and you can't be like dead to the world tomorrow to,
Appreciate
you.
the conversation. This has been so much fun. I was a little nervous. I'm a showgirl. The show must go on, and so I get nervous, and then when I'm on, it's all fine.
Yes, and I'm the same way actually, except being a dude. But uh, that was supposed to be funny. But yeah,
Can I just plug? So here's my book.
yes, I was going to offer you time to talk about your books.
Okay, so I'm gonna just grab one of my dream journals. Wait, one sec. I'm just gonna grab one so you could see it. If I have it. Do I have it?
I like the lights that you have in the background.
You like my what?
The lights in the
Oh,
background.
I don't know where my dream journals are. I never know where those are. So it's a blue book. So if you would like a dream journal, you can find it on Amazon, My Dream Journal. I should have stacks of my books everywhere. And it has room for 10. It has room for 100 passages, 100 days of your dreams. And it talks about how the Native American Indians would gather and they would decide where they should travel to by doing dream work. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where they would pose a question before they went to sleep, and we can all do that and get an answer while we're sleeping. We can overcome fears while we're sleeping that we can't deal with, why our waking life is overwhelming us. And I was always running in my dreams. And I was probably running because I had these near-death experiences, I'm guessing. And finally, I said to myself, tonight I'm going to sleep and I'm not going to run. And I did that. And I didn't run, and everything seemed to shift in my life. So that's a suggestion that I have for you. Quickly, this is a children's book. It's Earthly and the Gemstones. And I have hundreds of gemstones. Earthly goes on a journey and he collects these gemstones, each representing a different virtue. He starts out with gold coin. I did not illustrate this. I had someone professionally illustrate it. And then I also have a book when I was not owning up to Mary Amy, Blue Butterfly. And it just gives you prophecies. Like, this is some of my art, prophecies to bringing light into your life, which I believe we should, visualizing or cracking open that beautiful glowing light that you have in your heart. This is my art. And my fourth book is going to be coming out, which I'm not going to share the title yet, but I will let you know. Hi! Oh, that's so nice. That's very nice. Thank you so much, fearlessly phoenixing. And thank you. And you can go to my website, marrymeofficial.com, and find out about me.
Yes, and before we go, I do have, as you were so kind to bring a message for me, I have a message for you. And I will say from my heart and the heart of my shows to you, thank you for what you're doing for humanity. Thank you for doing the art, telling your story, sharing your authentic self, and being authentically you. Thank you. The world needs more of that, in my opinion. So thank you.
I appreciate that. That's very nice that you said that. It's very nice. I need validation. I mean, I'm doing things, but I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission, and I'm just going to keep going till I get to the other, to get to my destination. Then I'll have another mission.
Yes, and I want to point out too, how I mentioned synchronicity. I have a friend in Canada who has a book about a gnome king
Oh,
and how he guided her to get gemstones, and she does gemstone readings. And so when you sent me your info and you said, "Oh, here's this book about gnome and getting, gemstones," I was like, what are the odds of two people having the similar story? And I was like, I'm glad you brought up that book, because I was like in my mind going, I want to hear about this, because I'm wondering how these stories, if they're similar or if they're different, and how are they different. And I don't mean it to be like, oh, one story, is real, one's not. No, I'm looking to see, you're in New York, she's in Canada, how alike these stories are and how cool that is, because it just goes to show me in a way of, here, you don't call him the Gnome King, but here's a gnome that's,
earthly,
yeah,
earth S gnome, earthly spirit gnome. He's from the earth, and he gets his wings at the end of the story, and he's real an angel. So he's a universe. I
yeah,
came up with it in 1999, and I came up with this story in my head, and I created these little pouches, which I interviewed with the flagship store of FAO Schwartz in New York City. And I went and met the CEO, and he purchased 300 of these, and I had them made, and they had the gemstones. And oh, well, thank you so much. And then it, I had little books made, and then I was selling them, and I went to the Javits Center and did all that, and then I just was like stopped and went in a different direction. And then I circled back in 2019. I rewrote the book, and I made a big version of it because it was a little book, and I made a big version. I don't know if that answers your question about the story. Like, there's a map.
oh,
See, he goes on this journey. You're like an earthly. You're going on your journey, traveling.
yeah, and it's kind of funny because, like, I have a childlike essence of me, and it's like, I'm looking at that book and I'm like, I am totally putting that on the top of my list. Even though I'm not a kid, I'm like, I am putting that on
Oh,
my list, and I want to get that book, because it's like, yeah, and Fearlessly is asking, can we get your books on Amazon?
Yes. There's, if you look me up, it's Earthly and the Gemstones. It's $12.99. I think this book and this book are both $12.99. My dream journal is $29.99 because it's a thicker, bigger book. My book I'm working on right now so far is 225 pages. I don't know how many it's going to be after the illustrations, but we'll see.
Yeah, the illustrations always add more fun. And Fearlessly Phoenixing was saying she wants to get it for her daughter.
Aw, I love that. Thank you. You guys, thank you. I appreciate this.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I have a cool audience, and
You do have a cool audience. You're a cool guy who has a lot of cool channels, and you've been at it, and you've had some really interesting guests. I've been watching some of your guests, and you've been at it for a long time. So that's why you're exposed to so much. We appreciate. Oh well, thank you so much.
yes, and one thing that I will say for you, on the piggybacking off real quick that you were saying, like you need, like you like having validation, is a guest of mine one time said to me, I feel so blessed to be on your show because you have all these great guests. And I looked at my guests and I said, what makes you think you're not a great guest? All of my guests are great. They're all equally great. And they were like, oh, thank you. And that's how I treat it is, I could have like a list celebrity people on, or, you know, TV personalities on, or but I'm like, everybody is that in their own way. And so that's what I want to celebrate. And that's what I want to showcase is, we're all equal doing what we're doing. We're all if you want to go upper echelon of it, that is who we are. And we're just sharing that with everyone. And there is no, oh, this speaker is better than this speaker in my book. Everybody is exactly who they are and where they need to be. And that's what I celebrate.
Well, I think also everyone adds something because they have their own experiences. So you learn from them, or you get something out of it. And maybe it's something a nugget that you needed in synchronicity, like you just said, the crossover of someone else having a book that's similar, um, with the same elements to it, which I find interesting. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I mean, there's room for everyone.
Yes. And I think that's what keeps me grounded and keeps me, in my space and not caught up in all of the ooh ah of what's going on is I view we're all on a journey, and I happen to have a space where I can provide journey A to be shared with other people who may not be aware of journey A. And so I take and go, hey, journey A really does need to be shared out there. So I have this opportunity of this space available. Let's use it. Let's take it for a spin, so to speak. Let's put it out there. And that's my goal. And with all my shows is just to open people's minds and experiences to other people's experiences, and the fact of there may be somebody out there unknowingly to any of us that's having a similar experience and is watching this episode and going, oh, if they can, look at where they're at, and they're, similar path that I'm on right now. I can do it then. If they can do it, I can do it. And so that there's inspiration there.
You know what I just realized is you sent me a message and I didn't see it, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. I
You
meant to
sent
say it
you sent
before
it
we
to me like
started.
an hour and a half ago. Because
Yeah.
that's okay. I don't know. It didn't. Yeah, it's okay. I guess I can. I could have put it on here, but that's okay.
Well, I can always send you the episode if you want to upload it on your end.
Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna let me do this now, but we'll see. Did it let me do it? No, maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. It's too. We're at the very end now.
Yeah.
We're at the very end.
Although somebody did tell me if you start it late, it'll still grab the whole thing. And so I don't know. But
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on right now and then see. Yeah, it'll grab the whole thing. I don't know if it's gonna let me. Yeah, there you go. Let's see if it does it.
well, I know sometimes it might blink you out for a second because it needs to cycle that you give the permissions.
Uh-huh.
So if you do it and you disappear, we'll wait for you to come back.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm doing it right now. Can you there you go. That's
Oh,
interesting. Yeah, no, I think it's gonna cycle on there, you're right. It'll
yeah.
just go out. That's good. Perfect. Um,
What's going to be kind of funny though is now that we're getting ready to say goodbye, your audience will start flooding in and be like, "Hey, are we in time to catch this?"
yeah. You know, it's great. It's great that all these channels allow you to add your show up on all these platforms. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and like we, like I said, if when we end this and you go and look at your channel and for some reason it's like, oh, we got 8 minutes, I can send you the full episode. I download every episode just so I don't lose it, and I have a file. Hopefully, I try
Yeah.
to keep them on dual drive, so if one goes bad I still have others, and
Uh,
I can
Oh, I see. So I have, okay, so let's see who a couple people I know. Hi everyone, are you still there? So I see Fearlessly, because now I see comments. Sorry guys, I didn't see any of this. I totally want it for my daughter. I appreciate you. You both are very nice. And then we
um,
have Alexandra Morel. Hello. I see KG, who looks great. Oh, they see us. Jason, good evening to everyone. You guys are so sweet. It was very nice meeting everybody tonight. Hey,
yeah.
hey,
um,
hey. Well, this was lovely. I really appreciate you having me on, Michael. This was very nice. And it's on a couple of different channels. You have, what's the other
yeah,
channel?
well, it's on Rumble, it's on YouTube, it's on LinkedIn, it's on X, and it's on Facebook right now.
Wow. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us.
And I'm going to create something for you real quick that somebody asked for. And that is your website.
Thank you. There you go. And I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. And I hope everyone writes down their dreams and activate everything in their hearts.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you,
No,
Alexandra.
because she was asking for the website, so I put it up.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I always forget to mention that the like and follow for both of us. Well, since oh, Fearlessly Phoenixing is on your channel now, saying just
Oh, nice.
subscribed.
Thank you. Yay. If you'd like to know anything about telepathy, my own channel, Mary Amy, on YouTube, I have videos about telepathy and intuitive gifts. And if you'd like to watch my podcast, it's Thursday nights on YouTube, Two Psychics Podcast with Michael Edley, who's a medium. We've been doing it for 2 years.
That's amazing. And I was just going to ask you, if there was anything you wanted to promote out or anything upcoming. And so
here we are, Two Psychics. We are actually doing a live event in Pelham Manor at the Pelham Rails. It's a restaurant, and we're doing a live psychic night. And you can come and meet us and get a 3-course dinner. It's July 29th. Buy your tickets on Eventbrite for Michael Edley and Mary Amy.
That's a really good photo, too.
Oh, professional. The professional photo. Yep.
Although, I gotta say, I kind of like the scarf and the hair look, though.
Yeah, it's kind of a trademark thing I do. I'm in New York. So anyone who wants to meet me, you can meet me in person, or you can meet me video chat.
Well, I will say, since we linked in yours, we have one person that's jumped from my channel to your channel. And although the viewers are starting to come in now, there's more people now tuning in. And I think it's because at 9 o'clock is when I normally do shows on Tuesdays, that people are used to 9 o'clock, and so they didn't realize we started an hour early.
Are you single, Alexandra Morel?
No. I am not putting that up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What?
I don't know if she's asking you or me if you're single. I think she's asking you. Are you single?
Oh, I am, but... Fearlessly says, I found the link to her Eventbrite. So if you don't mind, Fearlessly, if you can link it and put it in the comments. Oh, she's asking if I'm single. Yes, I am. I normally don't talk about my public side, my private life. So yeah, that's, I don't know. Somehow you got me to answer that. So there you go.
Okay. Well, it was a joy. It was very much fun. I really appreciate you having me tonight, Michael.
Yes, and hopefully we'll get you back on for more episodes.
Sure. I'm game. You're a lot of fun.
Yes, and Alexandra, we talked about that in the beginning, so you'll have to watch the replay, which is free and will be live as soon as I end the stream. Oh, and Kevin is saying, Mary looks great, love the lights. See, I'm not the only one that loves the lights that you did.
Aww. Thanks, guys.
And so, yes, and thank you so much for sharing your story and everything with us. And keep doing your art, because the art that you showed us, I was like, wow, that almost looks like what I would expect to see in an art gallery.
Really?
Yeah.
I have lots of paintings. Here, I'll just show before we go. I'll just show you. Like, for example, this is I did a lot of art that was using different mediums. Like, I cut this out of magazines, but then I made this because I said I was going to have a tidal wave hit me, and but I think it was a life change. I was going through a life change. This is when I was doing vision boards, like we were speaking of, and so I made this painting. This was 2016. Something like that. But I have a lot of paintings. I used to do wall murals. The next house I have, I'm going to cover it with wall murals. Thank you, everyone.
Really?
Yeah.
So, we're real quick, if you don't mind, real quick answering, where do you get the inspiration to your art?
I think it just comes from it inside me. Like for a while, I was obsessed with vortexes, so all the paintings I painted had vortexes. Like right now, it's just I'm inspired by doing all the different art, which I've done a lot of the sketches already for the book, because I had those experiences. So I don't have a photograph. I like to work from a photograph. I'm just gonna have to go to the memory of what happened and try to do a good job of illustrating what like the different experiences I had were. But how I get the inspiration, like I did angels for a long time, it just comes from within, whatever I'm drawn to.
Okay. No, that's really cool. And I managed to find the link to your Eventbrite, so it's scrolling on the bottom now.
Thank you very much.
And it's in one of the chats conversations. I forgot that I singled out and was answering people from the one channel where everybody was mainly on, and so I forgot, and so it didn't put it on every channel. But yeah, and so before we go, and I know we've said we're going to go several times now, but we're legit this time, I promise. Is there anything or any, information or any insights that you have that you want to make sure the audience hears? And
Yes. Yes. I'd like everyone to remember that we are all connected and we're all actually friends with each other. We just have amnesia. And if you come from the heart, which how you do that, you let out a breath. You relax your physical body. You put your weight in your bottom, the base of your spine. You ground yourself. Imagine your feet going down into the earth. You relax your body. You tune into your heart and you ask your heart, how am I feeling? So you get a one-word answer. Now, maybe it's not going to happen the first time you try it, but you tune into your heart. So you're making a heart contact. So if I say that to myself right now, how am I feeling? I'll say, actually enthusiastic. Now, whatever I hear or receive, I embrace, I accept. Because as soon as you start embracing, accepting yourself, everything will be clearer. You'll feel more confident and you'll start to connect to everything out here and everything within you. So I'd like to make that suggestion. I'd also like to say, love is the most important aspect of the whole world. We're all seeking love. We all want love, whether we realize it or not. And to try to send love to as many people as you can in your life and have forgiveness to anyone that you feel or sense that hurt you. And that will open up another door for you.
no, that's beautiful, and thank you for that. And so, as promised, I'm going to say good night, everyone. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you so much, Mary, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And to everyone in the chat room, thank you for your comments and participation. And I will be back tomorrow night with another show. And do follow Mary's channel because there's a lot of great information there. She is a great source, inspiring source, and so do like, subscribe, and follow along because you never know when she may make an appearance again. So,
Yeah, exactly. I'll be back. Maybe.
well, scheduling wise, I will do my best to make it happen, but that all too depends on your schedule. So I'm not gonna say yes, we're bringing you back next month, and if you're traveling, it's like nope. And
Whatever's meant
so
to be.
exactly. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Love to everyone. Sending you love. Bye-bye.
I love when that happens. Try it again. Technology, so grand. Let's see if number 2 will work.